Beetlejuice's original script was
All right. Welcome everybody. We will begin in one moment. No paper towels, Mama? Done? Welcome everybody. Hello, hello. World Teacher, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome to everybody on Twitch and YouTube and X and TikTok. How are you? Good to see you. Beth, good evening to you too. Hello, Matt Killing, good to see you, man. So we'll wait for a few more minutes for people to show up. Today I was a couple of minutes behind. One of our dogs went through a procedure. She had to have one of her teeth extracted, so we just got back home. But I'll land. Give me one moment. I'll be right back. Welcome. Like I said, I'm still slowly landing from coming back from the vet. Welcome, Stevie. Good evening, Beth. Good to see all the regulars. Hopefully we'll have some newcomers. Thank you for the likes. I appreciate you. Deeply appreciated. That really helps. What's up, No Curve 23? Good to see you. How are you? I'm sure you can hear me too, right? And then yesterday we had quite a few, in comparison to what we usually have, quite a few participants from the stream, aside from TikTok. I'm not sure where most people were. I don't know if it was mostly from YouTube or also from X, but either way, that was great. Good uptake. Again, I'm a little disheveled at the moment just because we just brought her in, but I'll land in one moment. How are you, sad shy girl? That is funny. How is she, bub? How is she? Okay. Thank you for the likes, Brett. Yes, NASA. Wow. How are you? Gus 3. I'm new. Nice to meet you, sad shy girl. So to all the newcomers, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we actually live in a simulation. We're not talking about a philosophical hypothesis. We're talking about an actual experiment anyone can run. A few years ago, I discovered that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface while ingesting a particular molecule that I cannot name here on the live chat, you will see code running in surfaces. This observation is now being replicated at least successfully over 1,000 times worldwide. I am in contact with some of the leading researchers in the field, Does not mean that all of them agree with me, but we are on this ride together. Something interesting is happening. So we meet here on the daily to discuss the experiment, the discovery, as well as science, spirituality, religion, philosophy, and many other fun topics. So, with this introduction, I hope this satisfies at least some of the newcomers to understand what we're here to do. Anybody is welcome to participate. Just so you know, their conversations usually drift to very broad spectrum of subjects. Aside from politics, I think basically we touch on everything. So everybody are welcome to participate. Aside from my TikTok videos in which you have some of these summations, if you want to have a longer format videos with more information, you can always check out my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts, which is 3 words, DANGO Thoughts. And my X handle is Goler Danny. It's barely existent, but if you want to give me a follow there, that would be great. I just started streaming from there. Bob Barkley is saying, if the compound is the molecule, touch your nose. Yes, so it is the compound. Or is dubbed the spirit molecule. On YouTube, we have No Curve 23 saying, been thinking a lot about your experiment. Tell me what specifically you were thinking about. Does the code seem to be noticeably different between the objects you see? No. That question is easy to answer. So far, it seems that the code is the code is the code is the code. It doesn't really care, which is also the interesting thing about what we see. It looks, to, again, all the newcomers, surprisingly like in the movie, The Matrix. It looks like Japanese katakana mixed with some regular numbers from 0 to 5. And recently, myself and other people noticed that it also has some characters resembling some Hebrew letters. All of these are approximations. They're obviously not exactly like that, but that it looks like an alien language that resembles these things more than anything else. The code does not seem to care what surface it's on. It is clearly in all the surfaces. It's not in the light, because when you move the light is not, the code is not moving with the light. It is just being revealed by the light, like just you would have meant. You know Hebrew? Me too. Awesome. When you project it on the surface, when you move the light actually reveals it, just like a flashlight would. But yeah, the code does not change in any other way. And I tried all kinds of things, sound, projecting it to particular materials, nothing really helped. I tried to play with some magnets. These magnets didn't produce much difference aside from it seems to be scrambling it, which is an interesting data point. But I'm not 100% certain yet that the magnet itself is scrambling it. It might be the surface on which of which the magnet is made out of. So one of them is the operative. I am working on an experiment in which we're going to be using very powerful magnetic field, but the equipment is very expensive, so figuring out how to get that equipment. By the way, if anybody has access to a lab that has a very powerful magnetic field, that can be super helpful. No Curve 23 says, oh, right. That was the question. I thought you put another comment. So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah. Every day in the last few days, we were talking a lot about, the big picture questions, and we were talking about what computation actually means. Just a little recap. Yesterday, the main conversation was around what living in a simulation in fact means in actual terms. It does not mean that we live in a computer. It means that we live in a computational environment, which is a little different. The claim is that the world at bottom, what it really is computational, and the laws of physics are just one tiny sliver of that larger computational space. That is the actual claim. But yes, I am claiming that there are, so to speak, simulators or a layer above us that control certain things, and we can talk about that. The code by itself does not necessarily point to that, but there are a lot of other data points from both what I'm experiencing and a lot of other individuals, what they're experiencing, that seems to point to that. Matt Killing is saying, I have to do something. I will catch up with you later. Okay. Always good to have you with us. Welcome. Again, if anybody needs a quick summation of what we're talking about. Always feel free to ask. I don't mind repeating a couple of sentences every now and then. But overall, we're talking about the simulation hypothesis, and we're talking about science, religion, spirituality, and so on. So all of that being said, just because I literally just landed at home, I know for a fact you are wrong. Bottom layer is real, not computation. Other layer overlays, well, 8-foot tall alien. I know for a fact you're wrong. Your move. You said that psilocybin revealed, magic mushrooms reveal the code as well. Yes, you can do it also on mushrooms, and you can do it on Aya as well. We had a shaman from Central America tested with a few individuals doing a ceremony, and they all saw the code. Overlays are different technologies. One is solid hologram, standing wave matter. Sure. The real question is, how are you? Amazing, Amalia. Is how do you know this? Because that's really the question, right? Anybody can say whatever. I can say all kinds of crazy things. The question is, how do you know this? And then we can talk about it, of course. Everything is up for conversation. Is there a representative image of the code that you have uploaded? I think I told you this before. If not, I will repeat. I had a couple of artists recreate the language that we see in there. It does not look like the Alison Gray characters, which is interesting because you would expect it to look somewhat the same as many famous characteristics of some pieces of art around this thing, but it does not look like that. We're gonna have this in the documentary, but if you really want to see it, you can always email me to lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Once again, it's lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and I will email you a copy so you can see for yourself. They also use direct mind stuff in simulation. I know because I work with them. Well, good for you. You work with them in what context? Cow's gift. Where can you buy the laser? You can either buy, if you go to codeofreality.com. Again, it's codeofreality.com. We have a page there with all the stuff that you need to get from either Amazon. You can also buy it anywhere else, of course, Alibaba. People also asked us to make it, so we can make it for you, but it's just much more expensive because it's very time consuming, and shipping it and everything. So the easiest way for you is to just use the list on the page and then just order what you need. Shouldn't be that expensive. Shouldn't be more than $50, including everything. And then you can try it yourself. The only thing I would say, no matter where you're getting the laser from, make sure that it's never above 5 milliwatts. 5 milliwatts, never go over that output, because eventually you can actually do damage your cornea, even if you're just bouncing it off a surface, essentially. Laser simulation, no, not .x, just X. Laser simulation X, one word, @gmail.com, but you nailed it. And John, what is the thing you shared? I'm not sure. There's no hyperlinks on the thing, right? Their tech is beyond ours. You would need to learn about believing tech as well. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that it's beyond ours. They directly manipulate matter using subatomic forces. Not sure how, but they do it. Right. So all of these are just kind of like very, very, general claims. 8-foot alien, tall alien. There's a lot of very different scenarios that I come up with, like right now, like this second. And it holds water only if you can talk about how you know this specifically. If you work with them, what is the context? How did you work with them? Are you working with them energetically? Are you working with them actually? Are you working for the government? Are you kind of like Bob Lazar? Did you see them in some other place? What is the context to all of this, right? There's literally infinite number of claims I can put on the table. They can only be substantiated if you have something to show for. What I'm showing for so far, yes, it is not a huge thing, but it's something that is definitely repeatable. Anybody can do this. Anybody can try this, and over 1,000 people worldwide tried this. It is very compelling. Aside from that, I would maybe you'll be glad or not glad to know, I'm not sure, but I'm actually in direct contact with them all the time. I'm pretty sure, and it's pretty clear to me, that you're not talking about them. There's literally enormous amounts of different types of civilization in that space. So I'm not sure who you're referring to when you said you worked with them. Who is them? And also, again, we can talk about the specifics, but the bottom claim is that the world at large is computational, and then simulation in that context just means a slice of reality. So maybe we're saying the same thing. I'm not sure. Let's see. The context is it was on education, genetic research, and such. They use a lot of drama. I don't know what this sentence means. Brother or sister, not sure. Don't want to presume, but I literally don't know what this sentence means. But again, what is the context of you working with them? How did you get to work with them? You know, it's a pretty straightforward question. If you say you work with somebody, how did you meet them? How did you get to work with them? These are important questions, I think. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to make myself some coffee. I'll be right back with it. All right, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Let's see what we got. Does the code seem to know? You said that, yeah. Can you elaborate on how you come about using the laser to see it? Thank you for the question. That's actually a long story. I think too long for any one particular live. This is why we're working on a documentary. It's going to be showing a lot of this process. The general gist of it is that I've been using the molecule for a long time, and a few years into it, I all of a sudden started having a set of uber ultra realistic experiences, even more realistic than what they usually come across, which means that I could feel the gravity of that space. It was like super crazy realistic. And then I said to myself, there's no way that this is something that's made by my mind. So I decided that there must be an answer. If the space is real, there has to be a way to determine if it is in fact real, what we call real, or not. Some people would say to them it was always obvious. I don't know how it can possibly always have been obvious to you, but maybe it was. But then I realized that there has to be answers here. And then I went on this very long journey of trying to figure it out. For many years, there was no success. Maybe 4 or 5 years, there was no success. You know, all of a sudden, there was a stream of hints that started appearing for me, which I started following. Eventually landed on this idea that if you do this, something is supposed to happen. I wasn't even sure what was supposed to happen, but one of the original thoughts I had was that, so I have a little bit of understanding of physics that is, more than the common folk. So I kind of started going down that rabbit hole, started thinking about, okay, what can we think of? How can we approach this from the physics perspective? Light was a natural candidate because light is obviously involved because you see these things. But I wasn't sure what it's about, so I was asking them, and they never answered, that's also my experience, that they actually cannot give you information. That's at least, by the way, this is something I might want to mention to you, 8-foot tall alien. My experience of these spaces that there's actually a rule or a law. They're not allowed to tell you anything. Unless you figure it out by yourself, they're not allowed to give you information. They can give you, like, inspire you, but they can't actually tell you things. That's at least my experience, and also the experience of many very experienced psychonauts that I've spoken to. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the case across the board, but it seems to be, just like a law, like they're not allowed to. And and then I was thinking about the double slit experiment, particularly an instance of the double slit experiment that has different interpretations. Some look at it through the Copenhagen interpretation of the wave function collapse. Some of it look at it through the many worlds interpretation. The bottom line is the same mechanism by which quantum computers work, and we know they work, which essentially a simple way to describe it is that it delineates computation across the many worlds. Essentially, you literally you're sharing the computation. This is why you can make enormous compute in one instance, because the parallel universe is sharing your computation. They're kind of like sharing the burden, so to speak. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about this instance where communication actually moves between the worlds. And I was thinking about the outskirts of light, and I was thinking, is it possible that somehow in the light scattering, we can communicate between the worlds? At that point, I had no notion at all of simulation or anything like that. I was thinking about it more in terms of parallel worlds, and that is how I kind of came to this idea. And then the second I thought about that, hints started appearing, like just streaming in. And 3 years after that, I got to this idea that potentially we can do something with it. So that's the general gist of it. But the documentary is going to be one of the big portions of the documentary is going to be talking about that, and very excited to share that with you guys. Misha Naha says, "Hi Dan, apologies for using two ban words in chat. I'm in Laguna Beach. Are you in SoCal too? If so, can I buy you lunch and have a chat one of these days?" So Misha Naha, first of all, yes, I am in SoCal. Always down to meet with some locals. Love that area too. So let's we can schedule something. Just email me, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and we can schedule something. And yeah, absolutely, that can be fun. So let me know. How can we ensure people with free will choose peace? Answer is education, genetic upgrades. Yeah, or you inject. Yeah, I would agree with that. Education is key. And genetic upgrades, yes, I can totally see how that would play a role. I think before then, putting things in order with what you would call it, the general frame of the way that society operates. At the moment, we have, the crude way of describing it is that society definitely operates out of fear, which some would claim is the product of the separation story. Charles Eisenstein is big on talking about that. I'm not 100% sold that the operative there is the separation idea. If anything, I think coming together in a communion is actually a much more noble idea than believing that we're all one, because just because it's you, that's not a good enough reason to treat it good. Oh, you should treat it good because it's you. That's not a good reason. There's nothing noble about it, right? Now, if that's just the case, then who cares about noble, not noble? It's just what it is, right? But I do think that the story matters, and I do find some loopholes in this idea that we should just accept that we're all one, even if we are some kind of a universal mind. The fact that we do feel separate at the moment is an important part of whatever is happening, and I think operating as a cohesive team from even the perception that we're separate beings should just be the central focus, if you ask me, right? And obviously many religions and points of view, different schools of thought try to make that happen in different ways. I think it's just humanity wasn't ripe for that. But I think addressing that one component in the beginning, getting off the fear train, trusting a little bit more, doing simple things like injecting, which I guess is part of education, you're right, injecting meditation into kindergartens. And we're not talking about the metaphysics of Eastern traditions. We're talking about just the fact that kids will learn how to use their attention in a much more coherent way. And this I'm pretty sure that alone will basically create a whole new layer of humanity. So I think it will be worth your while. I mean, absolutely, brother. I mean, again, meeting some locals and having some good laughs and good talk, oh, absolutely would be worth my while. So I saw in yesterday's chat someone debating the code having meaning. I thought it would be interesting to add that Egyptians were using binary code to their math and construction. Yeah, so I talked about this some other chat about the claims about older civilization, including the Egyptians. The Egyptians is a big one. Would you be able to send me some materials? Because people making a lot of these claims, usually, so far, everything I looked into always suffers some kind of a logical. There's like a mishap there. There's some kind of a logical fallacy in the way that people approach this. But I'm totally down to look into it. I wasn't aware that we're using binary. I'm open to it, and I would love to read more about it. So please, yeah, share them, and we can talk about it also when we meet up. We are not at the point Earth is safe to tell the truth to yet. Safe behavior comes before tech. I agree that safety mechanisms have to be in place, but then you have to ask yourself, why is the code there to be discovered? They could have made it completely undiscoverable. And also, I really checked with the space before I was talking about it publicly, and at least at that moment, the response was pretty clear that there's no problem. You can talk about whatever. There's no secrets here. Of course, I'm not claiming to, all the ins and outs of that space and the politics and what they want, but that was the truth at the time. And I would agree with you, however, that we should always pay attention and that safety mechanisms should be in place first. But in order to discuss certain things, it's not just knowing the truth, it's understanding what it is and what to do with it. That's why I think the scientific method is always, as I say, reign supreme, because it's the thing that allows us to talk a more concrete talk about what is. Oh, Chase, good to see you, brother. How are you, Jen? Good to see you. Messi and Jesus combined. There you go. Bob Barkley. Bob Barkley nailed both of them. Said your email is invalid. I tried to send it. Wait. No. So you got it something wrong. Laser simulation x at gmail.com. It's absolutely valid. Here, I'll put it right here. Laser simulation x at gmail.com. Try this. Maybe there's a typo somewhere. Tell me if this works. No, I wouldn't read too much into putting a typo into an email address. Amazing Amalia. I'm gonna gulp on my coffee and hopefully I'll be a little bit more awake for you guys. And I think maybe I did not show up for me in. Then maybe there is some kind of hindrance. That is bizarre. Again, just type in laser simulation x at gmail.com. No periods, no dots anywhere. Demi Rogue is saying 0100110011110110101010. I don't know. I think that 101111010110001. I think that's more a correct way to say that. I don't know. You want to put it, if you don't, so just DM me. It's easier. Just DM me and then I'll put you the email there. Very simple. Oh, what a nice email. That's simple. Let's try it in real time. I want to know if there's any issues. Hold on. There you go. Tell me if you saw it. I'm really interested in your laser video with that substance TikTok won't let me say. Yep. Do you want to specifically ask something about it? Wait, you didn't get it? Then I don't know what's going on. Then truly something is off. Also, it will be hilarious if Dimi Rogue your message. What if people just join the chat and that's all we do? We just say, we just talk in binary. That's amazing. That's okay. It sounds like you're panicking. Don't panic. It's just, everything is all right. Just DM me. Like here. It doesn't let you DM me either. Then there's something about the system. I don't know. Nothing specific, but if you have any updates on it, that would be amazing. Yeah, we're coming up with a documentary. Just try. Yeah, it is. It's okay. It happens. Nothing specific. Yeah, so I'm coming up with a documentary, working with the incredible documentarian Aaron Venden, and we're working on a documentary at the moment that will be talking a lot about the details and the current state of affairs. And yeah, so that will be. And I'm gonna put again. I keep saying that, but it's just we're waiting to release some of the trailers to TikTok, and there's actually gonna be a round of crowdfunding for this part of the production. So if anybody is capable and they want to contribute, by all means, that would be amazing. What do you think happens when we die? I do not know. I have no idea. It seems to me that at this point there's no reason to doubt reincarnation. It's just that the form that it actually takes, I think, is more complex than people realize. But again, I don't know it either. It seems to me like the perfect data consolidation method, basically. That's what it seems to me to be. Should read. Hey, Mr. Z, how are you? Should read what? Do you feel it's like it's creating our reality? Yeah, I think the code is coding for reality. This is a conversation yesterday me and Mr. Z had back and forth. Mr. Z was maintaining that there's no, there's actually not a strong enough reason to believe that that code would be what is actually coding for reality. I disagree, but I think it's a matter of seeing it also first, and then But yeah, I do believe that this is something that actually codes for everything. It's literally the source code of everything. Question: do you know anyone that doesn't have a space digital like hallucination while journeying? I'm curious. Some people, I was talking about this yesterday, some people report more kind of like, angelic, heaven-like, or the other place. So like more the religious motif. I've never had that. That's not true. I've seen these elements, and I've even seen Jesus Christ, which was very weird. But they were kind of like part of the simulation. So they're inside the simulation. The simulation is the external environment, so it codes for that as well. It's almost like the system's way, the checks and balances of the system. That's what it feels like. I had a synchronicity yesterday. After your chat, went to a local shop, on the way found a discarded painting, acrylic on canvas. Reminds me of Alison Gray characters, but put in an abstract landscape. Interesting. That is a cool synchronicity. Thank you for sharing. Also amazing, Amalia, what is possible is happening is that, I don't know if we're friends on TikTok, sometimes it will send me a request, and I can't do it during live right now, but I will check after the chat. So sometimes it will send me a request that you're trying to talk to me, and I have to approve it. That might be what's happening. I don't know why it's happening on email. That I wouldn't know. Oh, it tells me, that your email doesn't exist. Are you sure there's 777@gmail.com? Maybe we're part of different realities, or you just forgot your email. I want to try it. It sounds like this would not be available, because if you grabbed it, that's amazing. I want to try it one day, but I want to get more experience with psychedelic before. Yeah. So to be very clear, thank you for that comment, Demi Rogue, because it's a good opportunity to mention something that I think is very important. I'm not saying it's for everybody. Not everybody should be an astronaut, for example, right? It requires certain prerequisites. You have to be psychologically sound. You have to be really kind of like, you have to be good. Like I wouldn't recommend this for people that are already psychologically shaky. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying this is one example where I would not recommend to ever try this, right? Um, I'm just talking. I'm just telling you what's available, what's possible, and we're all adults, so everybody should still be using everything in their own discretion, obviously. And again, I know that this is not necessarily what you're saying about yourself, but I think it's a good opportunity to mention this. It doesn't mean that everybody should necessarily try it. I am working on trying to figure out if there's any other way that other people can see it without the molecule, which will be very helpful. Maybe some form of breath work, which so far I tried Wim Hof, it didn't work for me. Might work for people who are better at it. But yeah, so definitely take your time. And if you need any more concrete advice on like prep and the way to, bring your state in a certain to a certain place, certain practices you can do for a little while before you do this, feel free to email me. Amalia can't email me, but everybody else, it's okay. It will happen. It's lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I want to try it one day, but I want to get more experience. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading the same thing there. Motif is such a great word. I love that word too. One of my favorites, I think. Yep. It's motif and wherewithal. And the latter I can't even say, but I still love the word. Welcome, everybody. Why do I feel spinning energy where my third eye and crown chakra are supposed to be? Spinning energy, Bob Barkley. You mean right now, this second, or during the experiment? Abstract landscape. Yeah, so the code was present. It still felt computer or quantum-like. You have to be more specific. Are you talking about the experiment, or are you talking about just your experience on the molecule? And the title of that painting by Mr. Z was Lead Story. Interesting. Alloy, a lot of trauma gets worked out after a bunch of deep dives. Absolutely. Any books you can recommend to the molecule on the molecule? Absolutely. Great book, JRJ Music Art. A really good one, relatively recent, is by the second book by Andrew Gallimore, which is Reality Switch Technologies. I'll write it here. Reality Switch Technologies. It's great because it's he's a computational neurobiologist. He was very in his academic career. He was very focused on the molecule. He definitely knows what he's talking about. He's one of the world's experts, and he puts a lot of great work into educating us. First of all, about some basics of neuroscience and exactly what's going on in general, and he does a superb job at that. And then he gets into the different substances, how they operate, what we know about them, why they produce the kind of effects that they do, all of them, the different ones. And then the last few chapters are devoted to the molecule, in which he claims that it is different, and he explains why it's different, both in everything we understand about neuroscience, in terms of everything we understand about neuroscience, and why the effects that the molecule induces seem to not really fit squarely into any one of these types of categories of what we would call, hallucinations. So that's a book I would highly recommend, and I would start there. And then when you're done, if you want more recommendations, I can give you more. But I feel like focusing on one is always good. What's up, dude? Called you this time. Yeah, Azamun, welcome. By Andrew Gallimore. I'm assuming you are familiar with you just brought him up. Gallimore, yep. What do you think about his history of the brain being a world-building machine in your simulation hypothesis? That's exactly right. What he's saying is aligns perfectly with what I'm saying, which is that the world is a world-building model. It builds world models, to be more accurate. And these world models, they're essentially the different kinds of renderings of a substrate that is a computational substrate that allows for this kind of malleability of itself to create content. Now, we're not getting into what it means in terms of like what is the central unit that is experiencing it, i.e. the observer. I spoke to him about this, and when we got to this point, we try to touch on it, and he's like, "Dude, there's no like, we have no idea. This is just that's at the moment is just so out there that we can't really decide." Do you prefer Dan or Danny? I've heard people use both. It's fine. My actual name is Danny, so I prefer Danny. The channel on YouTube is Dango Thoughts, plug, because it's some people call me Dan because of it, which is fine. But Danny is my actual name. I'm trying to say hi to you guys, and I inadvertently liking my own channel, which is fine. Let's see what we have here. Random question. Whoa, what do you feel spinning? Oh, yeah, Bob Barkley, I would love to know if you mean during the experiment or in general. And Beth, thank you so much. Thank you for the love. Random question, but do you think some people could be NPCs? Could, yes. Do I think that? No. I think it's one of the, I think it's either solipsism, so like you're the only person who exists, which then means I'm the only person who exists, which is kind of crazy. Or nobody's an NPC. I think it's one or the other. Can it be though? Yeah, of course. I don't think it matters. I don't know. To me, it doesn't really play that much of a role of interest. They've done research you might heard of. It says some people don't have internal dialogue. I've heard about this. That's different to being an NPC though. It is kind of crazy. So thank you for bringing this up. This is kind of crazy. I think I don't know if you're talking about the same thing, and I've actually never seen the study or watched any documentary about it, but I have a good friend who told me about it, and from what he told me is crazy. So basically, if I understand correctly, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, it started from a few, and it's a relatively new phenomena. It has something to do with the way that kids interact with social media and stuff. Basically, what they discovered is that there was this. So what he told me, and at least in the show that he saw, it was this guy who was doing homework with his girlfriend. Not like, well, it doesn't matter. Like some girl that he knew, and they were working on some problem, and then he asked her something along the lines of what she thinks about it, and her response kept on being, "Well, that's what they told us." And he asked, no, I understand, but what do you think about it? Something like that. And she kept on saying, "Well, that's what they told us." And he was like, "Wait, what? What do you mean? Like, okay, I understand, but what do you think about it?" And she goes, "That's what they told us." So then he was like, "What is happening?" So then they started kind of like investigating this, and then discovered that there's a whole like slice of the population of kids actually that literally don't have an internal dialogue. They just think what is being projected at them, which is insane if that's true. And I guess that will be a form of like an NPC because they don't have their own agency. They just reflect back what is actually being like what they're being, and which would, by the way, explain a lot in the world right now. But that's a whole separate story. Is that what you were referring to, by the way? What do you think about time travel? That would be cool. Hollywood. That is insane. Yeah, Beth. Like it's crazy. It's like what? And now like I actually catch it sometimes. I do notice this a little bit. I will say though, I think it's just a blimp in the human evolution, because if that is true, at least I'm noticing with my nephews who are now like around 5, 6. You definitely don't see that. In fact, it's the opposite. Their agency is more robust than mine. Let's say at that age for sure. Like they have perception of boundaries that is just off the charts. Like they understand what they want and they know what they want, which is crazy, and they're like very bright. And there is this tendency always to notice like your own kins, like your own family members as like more, whatever it is, right? But I've noticed it not just with them. I've noticed it with kids of my friends, and so like it just seems to be like this next generation that is coming up, like 5, 6 years old now. I have such a good hope for humanity because of them, because it like they're so like they come pre-installed with some kind of like deep wisdom that I definitely didn't have at that age. So if anything, that is super encouraging to me. Um, what are your thoughts on the Mandela effect? I don't know. I have noticed some things that are kind of weird. The original, idea of Nelson Mandela himself. I actually myself I wasn't sure. Like, wait, did he die in the 80s or did he died in the like? I was confused about that, because I do remember hearing both. So I don't know if I came from both timelines. I have no idea, but I'm open to it. In the context of everything that I've discovered, and with the context with some new developments like Stephen Wolfram's um, new physics project with the hypergraphs and all that stuff, it actually makes perfect sense because you can have parallel universes, parallel timelines that actually like really happening. And in Wolfram's model, you have rebranchings where you have like all these things branching out, and then at some points, randomly, they will branch back in. So then you would have worlds that were apart and now they're back together, and then it will branch out again. So that it makes perfect sense to me. Um, do you have a Discord server for the community? No, not yet, Azamun. Thank you so much for asking. I'm at the moment I'm still a one-man show. There's quite a few people that are reaching out to me. They're like, "Hey, we want to help you with this. We want to help you with that." I guess I'm slowly learning to be. One second. I'm gonna take her by her skull. Okay, man. Sure. If you can just close the room. Thank you, baby. So I guess I'm just playing. I'm learning to slowly be a better router of what are the requirements and needs, and eventually we're gonna have. I slowly just jumped to the business here. I don't know if he's here with us. He suggested that I should also stream through X, which I never even thought about, and now we're doing X and Twitch and all that stuff. So just keeping all of that and tracking all of that is a little difficult, but we'll get there. We have a Telegram group, like a fan group, but I'm creating a new Telegram group with more like kind of like towards the like working on the goal. The easiest way to plug you into these other things is, again, if you email me, and then we can talk about it. So lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and I can the Telegram group is one way, but I do know that I have to do the Discord group and all of that. I think at this point I need like a manager, somebody who's like or a personal assistant. So we'll get there. At the moment, I'm just trying to operate the whole thing myself. Thank you for the question, though. Did Rob, who interviewed you several times, try to doing the laser experiment? What were his thoughts? Yeah, he did. He emailed me. Well, I don't want to speak for him. So my impression of the email was about that specifically is that basically he said that's interesting, and then he said I don't know if I would necessarily go immediately right away to say that it means we live in a simulation, but I will give you that that's interesting. He's like, let's keep this conversation open. Basically, that was the gist of the email, which I thought was super respectful and nice. I know that he was I think he recently did like an ayahuasca ceremony. He was pretty busy with that kind of stuff. So, but we're always in touch. He's an awesome dude. I really like him. And eventually, I'm sure there's also another conversation we recorded that he never released yet. He might release it, and then we're gonna have some more conversations about it. Cool. So I've been trying to describe what I've been experimenting with. Is synchronizing my physical body 7. I don't know if you meant to say 7, but it is interesting if it's a interesting typo there. To that world build machine of the brain and allowing the world builder to alter this 3D. And were you successful? By NPC, do people mean essentially biological robot with no observer consciousness present? Basically a zombie, yeah, essentially. Since this might be a simulation, do you feel there was a time where it wasn't? So this goes back to the original point that I started this chat today with, which is that what is meant by we live in a simulation, the broader claim is that the world as it in its entirety is computational. It's computation. And then in that context, a simulation is just a slice of reality. I don't know if this helps, but yeah, it's not like it's not like there's a real world and then there's computational world. Is that the real world is just a tiny part of the computational world, not the other way around. And we just stumbled upon computation in our slice of reality, which is a function of higher reality. And we think of it in terms of like, oh, we figured out how to do this thing called computation, and then we built computers. I was like, no, we discovered a universal thing, which is computation, and we're utilizing that thing to build computers in our world that allows us for a higher function, because that function is flowing to us from a higher space. That's essentially the claim. You want me to start a Discord so people can another great word, conglomerate, and I can just give you the admin rights when you want. Sure, Azamun, that would be super wonderful. I don't know how that works I'm familiar with it. I have it. Maybe we can chat on email first, so you can tell me if I should just convert mine into the main one, and if you want, you can also have the main thing there if you want to manage it. I don't mind. I'm running out of time during the day doing things, but yeah, I'm totally open to it, so we can talk about it. I think again, if you email me, it will be much easier. Limitless, interesting. That is very interesting. I would love to hear more. Are you familiar with Rudolf Steiner work with autistic kids and horses that could do complex math? No. Horses that could do complex math? Or kids who then transformed to be horses who then could do complex math? Because the second option, that's crazy. No, I know, I'm kidding. Can you briefly compare, and no, I've never heard of this, by the way, so thank you for telling me. Can you briefly compare Reality Reloaded book with Reality Switch Technologies book? Melvin Vops's Reality Reloaded? They're completely different books. Reality Reloaded by Melvin Vopson, which I would also recommend. He's the physicist who was also on my podcast on Dango Thoughts on YouTube. And the book is basically expanding on the paper that he wrote about what he claims to have discovered, which is the second law of infodynamics. So just like the name implies, it is the equivalent of the second law of thermodynamics, only it's actually exactly the opposite in its function. So if the second law of thermodynamics describes how heat, or I guess you can say the randomness in the universe always increases. Well, in a closed system, but we can talk about what that means in the context of a universe that can potentially be infinite. It just complicates it. But for simplicity's sake, the second law of thermodynamics essentially states that in any closed system, the amount of work available to be done always decreases because the entropy increases. Okay, and what he discovered is that, well, he didn't exactly discover this, to be fair, and he would admit that. Shannon discovered this. So Claude Shannon, that came up with the why am I spacing on this? Wait, why am I don't know. This is such a basic thing I talk about every single day. Claude Shannon. It's hilarious. Information theory, like such a simple phrase, and my brain just spaced on it. So he came up with a mathematical framework to describe how information flows and exactly what it means to transfer information from one place to another. And we're using Shannon's information theory for a lot of very important things in our modern world. And one of the concepts there is that in a computational system, in other words, the entropy in information always decreases with time. It asymptotes down, so it's like towards more order, which is weird. And also, very important to mention, is that they are part of the same process. So the reason that they go exactly like that is because they're part of the same process. Because you cannot describe a computational system, like a fully instantiated computational system, that does not utilize some physical factor, which is very often being overlooked. Any amount of compute that you have to do will produce some amount of heat, which increases entropy, which relates to the second law of thermodynamics. So this relationship, he started investigating it through symmetries, which is a very big word in physics, as I'm sure a lot of you know, through computational systems, biological systems, and physical systems. And what he discovered is that if you look at all the details of how these things happen, it seems to be describing an environment that you would engineer if you're running a complex computational system and you'd want to optimize this computation. And he dubbed that law, he calls it a law, the second law of infodynamics. The whole book, so there's a paper on this. If you just Google Melvin Vopson. Oh, you know about this, right? So Melvin Vopson. The second law of infodynamics. But you can just say Melvin Vopson, which I think how you have to pronounce this. Vopson infodynamics, you will find the paper. It's open source, and the book is just an expansion of that paper to include also some postulations. So you can almost look at it almost like the name of the molecule, the book that was called The Spirit Molecule by names today, man. Oh my god. Okay, can't believe my brain is doing this to me. I'm going to talk about it. I should probably Rick Strassman. Yeah, my brain is like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's too hot, that's why. So Rick Strassman, and in that book he describes his experiments with the molecule in the 90s, and the book is divided in two. Half of the book is the scientific part, where he claims all the science stuff and what he understands and everything about the study and how they prepared it and all these good things. And then the second half of the book, he's talking, he makes a very clear distinction, and he says, okay, now I'm talking about, I'm not talking as Rick the scientist, I'm just postulating here, okay? And that's kind of the vibe of the book by Melvin, which is like he divides the book into two parts. They're not as clearly divided, but that's essentially the two types of rhetoric you can find inside. It does have some equations, so if you have some technical understanding of these things, it would help. But he makes it pretty palatable for even people that don't. And then the other half is kind of postulating what it might mean in terms of religious perception, all kinds of things like that. Reality Switch Technologies is a book about neuroscience, which is very different. And there he talks about how we can make sense of these things from the perception, from what we know both from neuroscience and from our first-person experience of the reality that we call our world. So these would be the main differences. First of all, one is more of a physics book, the other one is more of a neuroscience book, but also the approaches are very different from where we're taking the problem from the external third-person description, and Reality Switch Technologies is much more of a first-person coupled with a deep understanding of the science of cognition and neuroscience. Hope this is a good summation. Like Adinkras, do you feel the code is based on a binary code? No, I don't think the code is based on a binary code. I think it would appear as binary then. Of course, I can be wrong. And to anybody who doesn't know, Adinkras are basically visual representations of equations that are very deep in string theory. And James Sylvester discovered that it looks exactly the same, does not think that this means we live in a simulation, and that's important to mention. He thinks it actually means something much deeper and interesting about reality, which, by the way, I was a lot more on board with than anything else. I'm in a position that I'm in and saying the things that I'm saying because I've had certain experiences that I cannot ignore, and I know for a fact I have direct experience of certain things that I didn't before. And if I wouldn't have this direct experience, I would never even, honestly, I wouldn't even think about the simulation hypothesis. It was never interesting to me. I see it as kind of arbitrary and not interesting, to be honest. I'm just where I am because I have to follow what I see. Let's see. I think, Yes, back in the turn of the century, it was a popular show. They bring the horse to the village and write on a chalkboard a complex math problem, and the horse would tap out the numerical answer. I gotta see this. Sounds very far-fetched, but I would love to see it. Steiner brought in some high-functioning autistic kids, and they too could solve the equations. However, when they would intentionally put a mistake in the math formula, the horse wouldn't respond, and the autistic kids would react with frustration and not answer. He concluded that both the horses and the kids were able to understand the computational system that the planet communicates with. See, that last part, I don't understand. That seems like a giant jump to me. There's so many other things that this can mean, right? But I guess I would have to watch it. It's interesting. Wait, are you talking about is this like a documentary, or are you talking about just episodic? Like this is like a scripted thing? Because if it's scripted, obviously it makes sense. Math is useless without a fixed point. Math hates motion. First of all, math does not hates motion. There's a whole, it's up pseudo history. So let's organize this. But I'll let you first respond. So pseudo history is saying math is useless without a fixed point. Sure, but what is the relevance of this point? I don't know. Math hates motion. Not true. Fluid dynamics is the math of motion, or very complex motion. In fact, there's a whole, branches of mathematics designed to talk about motion. Math loves a fixated Earth. Not true at all. In a haystack, the needle is the center. I think I know what you're trying to say, but again, just because this is a definition issue, not a fundamental issue. Like you define, you know what base means, right? So we have base 10, which is what we mostly use, but you don't have to use base 10. Math is fluid this way. So you can actually do base whatever, and if you have to match something else. So hexadecimal numbers, which are used in computation, they use base 16. You can play with this quite a bit. So math is the ability to describe all possible relationships that make sense both in the physical world and in general, which is an interesting thing. But the thing about math not liking motion, this is I don't know if you're quoting Terrence Howard, but it's just the statement is just wrong. There's no Earth is the center of the universe because it as a needle in a haystack. I don't know what you're talking about. The horse was trained to respond to clues. It was a cheese circus trick. Dude, I gotta see this. This is interesting. In Steiner's book, Steiner, like the three-body problem, math about bodies in motion. Wait, how does this relate to the three-body problem? So the three-body problem is essentially the fact that if you're trying to describe the relationship, if you try to extrapolate the behavior of two different bodies in space forward in time, it's a very straightforward thing to do. You can use Newtonian physics to do that. It's very simple. But if you're trying to do it with three objects, the three-body problem, it becomes impossible to predict. So it becomes chaotic, basically. That's what the three-body problem is. How does that relate to the horses? Can you explain? Hey, Danny, how are you, brother? How are you, Vicky? Good to see you. Nathan, when you ended your live last night, you mentioned the code looks like Hebrew letters. Yes. Oh, by the way, I forgot. I think you're the one that asked, or maybe if not. What's up, Danny? But also somebody asked to see the lasers yesterday, and I was like, oh, I wanted to show you the lasers. I mean, there's nothing that special about them. I'll show you the original ones that I built. They're very janky and hilarious, but I'll show you. This is the original one. This is Mambo number 5. We now know what you definitely don't need to make it that convoluted. However, I would say that these work a lot better because they have an actual circuit inside that keeps them alive for much longer, and the light is much nicer. That gives, even though it's still 5 milliwatts, it gives a nice robust output. This is just Laser, it just looks like it's just basically just a laser lens that kind of expands it a little bit. And the reason I made it this weird is because I actually thought I'm going to be using some things in the front, either filters or metronomes, something to basically play with. And then later iterations looked similar, but so this is the green laser. Again, kind of same idea. The only modification is that actually it doesn't have the same circuit, so a little less convoluted. But yeah, it's just hilarious because they look like something from like Back to the Future or something, but they're just like they're a simple laser. Oh, I like the thing from the light. You can make like a super simple one at this point that will be like super small, and the ones we make for people, they're like packages like small. You can take them with you. You can travel with your own multi-dimensional laser. Look at that. Yeah. So yesterday I didn't get to show you. I wanted to show you. There we go. And then Nathan is asking, when you ended your live last night, you mentioned the code looks like Hebrew letters. Yes, some of it. It seems to be, yeah. Mostly Japanese, katakana and regular numbers from 0 to 5. Hebrew comes toroidal shapes. Oh, Nathan, you and toroids. Bro, I love you. But can you please explain to me what you mean by that? Because, again, I don't, like, in what way? I know you're trying to say something of value, and I'm really trying to understand. But can you please explain to me what you mean by that? You can put anything on a toroidal surface. So why are you postulating that Hebrew has to be in toroidal? There might be something I don't know. I'm not for 1 second dismissing what you're saying. But I just don't understand it. Shine it on the wall. Oh yeah, good idea. So the green one, I think the red one has some kind of an issue right now. So let me just put it on this side. Hold on. I know where both TikTok and YouTube can see. Okay, so if I put it here. Alright, so that's the green. Can you even see? Yeah, you can see. There you go. That's all. Just a band of light. And inside, I don't know why I never thought about doing this in the live. That's weird. And then basically you're going to be looking through. Like this is the window. And anything you're going to shine it on, including your hand, doesn't matter what it is, you will see the code running in it. Which is super bizarre. But it's super coherent. It's not, it doesn't look like a hallucination. And you just keeps revealing it basically. Let's see if I can see any of it without the molecule. No, not that clearly. Some people say they can, but that's essentially all it is. So, and this is one of these interesting points that, for example, Rob Adaptus was really hung up on. He was, I don't know why, he was very bothered that I'm basically telling people that there's some kind of a special laser. It's like the laser cult. I'm like, I truly don't understand. And I told him while we were on the chat, I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm just saying, if you use a laser, use the molecule, you see this thing. I'm not saying there's something special about the laser. It just seems that at the moment that's the only way to see it. Anyways, yeah, look at that. Oh damn. If you do it again, I'll capture it. It's a cool image. Beth saying hi, fiance. Fiance staring out the window. Yes, I captured it. Thank you. Can we see it right? Yeah. So cool. I'm so glad I'm here right now to see it. Yeah. It's just a laser. Can you show how they work? Yep. Can you send a video link if you... wait, I can send you... yeah, please. Please. Again, I'm always open to learn new things, and you can share a lot of things with me via email. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Unless you're Amalia, and then it doesn't let you email me. I'm going to keep joking about this. But lasersimulationx@gmail.com. All one word. Email me whatever you would like. I always get around to it. Sometimes I admittedly... recently, I've been a little behind on my emails, but I always get back to them eventually. So please email it to me. What are you talking about tonight? Just a free flow. I don't know. I truly don't know. Right now, we're just showing the lasers. But thank you for the question. A band of concentrated energy. Yeah, of light. Yeah. How is it diffracted? The diffraction is this. The diffraction is the fact that it has the line. So the diffraction is the line. Otherwise, the definition of a laser is that it's coherent light. So it's light that is all on one energy level. This is why it's one color. This is why it's different from regular light. So all the photons are exactly on the same energy level. There are no different energy levels. They then culminated through a lens, which actually a laser does not have to be a point. It actually is pretty wide, but they use lenses to point it into one space. This is a concentrated light. But the definition of a laser is just light of one coherent light, one energy level. The way they do it is they excite all the electrons to a particular state, and then they all drop to the next suborbital. And when that happens, they'll release the exact same photon of the exact same frequency and wavelength, and that's why you see that. The diffraction means that you put a special lens in the front, and that basically breaks the light into this band that you see. That's what diffraction means. A refraction would just mean that you give the light a little bit of an angle, and diffraction is when you break it apart. Which, by the way, I actually made a mistake in the. It's not really an excuse that English is not my first language, but some concepts are just kind of like mashed together if you don't use them a lot, because I should know better. I know a thing or two about physics, but in my first video I said refraction instead of diffraction, and that was a mistake. It is diffraction that you want, even though refraction that you want, but diffraction helps. So the extra angle actually gives it more coherence. We jumped. I'm being blocked from showing you my art for whatever reason. Again, Malia, I know where you're coming from that spiritual perspective, but I wouldn't read too much into it. I would just, there might be like I don't know, either copyrights or something like that. It's weird. What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, soon we're going to set up a meetup for people in Southern California, and that should be fun. And again, if you would like to come on and talk, please let me know. Here, Kirsten, Jamie, feel free to request, and I'll bring you up. Let me look at YouTube first. Wait, what did I want? I lost my train of thought for a second. I don't know what I was talking about. Let me see. You like the shirt? Yeah, that's actually this is, well, it is not okay. So this is actually my brand that I don't wear it often, but when I do, it's a good thing to advertise. You can go to the FCKIT brand, all one word.com. We have a lot of fun things. It's mostly for like streetwear, like skateboards, but we have a lot of fun items. So if you feel called, please do. I don't usually wear them on the live. Sometimes I just wear them because I wear them, because I'm trying to separate. I'm not trying to make this into like a constantly advertising things. But I do like some of our shirts, so I wear them sometimes. That's also the hat that I'm wearing in the beginning. But that was the period where my hair was just the in-between stage, and I was wearing a hat all the time. People always say, "Oh, you wore the hat because you wanted to." Well, I was like, first of all, sure, like that's literally my brand that I worked really hard to make. So like, of course, I would want this out there. But actually, I just wore the hat because I literally wore it 24/7. People made fun of me that I probably even wear it in the shower. Being long, interesting. What do you get? Yeah, so the shirt is fckit.com. So basically the phrase, which I think we're going to be blocked if we say it, which is so stupid, but without the U. So FCK without the U, itbrand.com. And the dog. Yeah, the dog, I definitely love the dogs. Sound and vibration is the missing piece. I tried to play with sound, didn't work so far. You can hear the sound, by the way. Just so you know. Хорошо, братан. That's really funny. Where are you from, by the way, specifically? Nico. Lasers are just condensed energy. Not quite true. No. The definition is that it's coherent light of the same wavelength. So you can think of it as like it's not about condensing it. Condensed energy is matter. That laser looks way better than mine. I mean, this one looks more gnarly for sure. Does anyone in this chat see my words or no? I see your words. Yeah, I see your words. This is why I'm a little surprised. My two cats are triggered by all this laser talk. That is very funny. Let me see. Which site? So the one for the all the laser stuff is codeofreality.com, codeofreality.com. And oh, thank you for the gift, Kirsten. And for my brand is FCKIT brand. Here, I'll put it in. I'll make an effort. So it's fckitbrand.com. Oh my God. FCKIT brand. Okay. That's one. And the other one is okay. Let's see. My cat trips out when I'm working with the laser. She's actually scared of it. Wait, she's scared of the diffracted laser? That is interesting. Wonder why. Which URL, Darth? Or maybe that was before I typed it in. What's the site? Okay. Energy vibration, sound, human interpretation, rinse, lather, repeat. Wait. Okay, lather, right? Energy vibration, sound, human interpretation, rinse, lather, repeat. Do you mean that all vibration is how we perceive the world? Because that's correct. I don't see the t-shirt on the site. Oh, I think this one was actually this particular one I think was discontinued, but we might recontinue it very soon. Wait, this one is not on the site? I thought we put one. I can make sure that we put it in the print thing. So if you Unicusarinium, I can't read that. I'm sorry. If you can tell me how to pronounce it, I will. I will either DM me or email me, and I'll do it even today. It's not that difficult. I just need to tell the print shop to add this back to the thing, and I'll make sure that it's there on the website by tonight, and then you can order it. Can you tell us what you've already tried to influence the code? Sound, projecting it to different materials. What else? I tried to listen to different sounds. So if you listen to a random frequency, you will actually hear the space, which is interesting. You have to put it in your headphones. But changing the code so far, no. Oh, and I tried magnets. And the only thing I've seen work is that when you project it on a magnet, it scrambles the code, which is interesting. Now, like I said before, I'm not sure if it's just because what is the magnet made out of versus the actual magnetism that is scrambling it. I'm not sure. But again, this is already kind of like we have to get, in order to really know, we're going to have to put it through like serious testing. And not like, kind of like at home. Have you done binaural beats? Yeah. For me, these things, they don't do anything aside from just basically relaxing me. Thank you, Kirsten. Oh, shoot. Unique username. Wait, what is the unique username? Oh, yeah. One song, one verse. It's a conscious universe. Oh, I love this. Thank you, James. That's awesome. So how is a laser not condensed energy? Because what you mean by the word condensed? So it might be just semantics. I'm not, it's not. My point is never to discourage any thought about the subject. It's just that the word condensed doesn't mean that. Condense means bring together, right? So the condensing of the light is actually not a requirement of the laser. You don't have to condense the light to make it a laser. The definition of the laser is that it's coherent light. It's light from the same frequency, the same wavelength. So all the photons are exactly at the same frequency and wavelength. That's what the definition of a laser is. In addition to that, we it's the word would not be condensed, but you basically you converge the light, right? Condense means you're making things lump together, which it's not. It would not be the main the definition of a laser. It's not that it's not. It's that it would not be the main thing that stands out about it as a laser. Let me see if I can. You can definitely talk about it in terms of putting a lot of energy in one place. In that sense, you can say condensed energy. I'm not sure if this is something that maybe physicists use, but again, the defining factor is not the condensing of it. I guess if you're talking about the same frequency, I guess you can say it's all condensed into one frequency. Yeah, I take it back. If you say condensed into one frequency, that would make sense. I was thinking more along the lines of like you're talking about like condensing the beam. But if you meant it in a different way, yeah, condensing into one energy does make sense, into one frequency. If you want the shirt, yeah, I'll make sure to make sure that we have this shirt available. This is great. I'm gonna wear these shirts more often. We have a lot of fun items there. But yeah, this is actually one of the older items that we discontinued, but I can put it back. It's no problem. More precise, I mean. Oh, whoa. I was ignoring a lot of YouTube. Let me respond to YouTube a little bit. So, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. They should have one with a... Thank you so much. This one looks so cool. 3-body problem. Okay. So we go all the way back to, whoa, like 20 minutes ago. Sorry, guys. Math about bodies in motion, right? Math is an illusion. Oh my God. Math is an illusion. From which point do we start? Hey, Danny. So the history. Math is not an illusion. It is a descriptive tool that describes a mathematical relationship, which is some kind of a fundamental relationship of reality. But the math we use, the symbols and the way that we interact with it, is our way of describing that. To some degree, we have some axioms, so some things that we put forth as the definitions on which math rests, and these are arbitrary, or not arbitrary, but special to how our minds work. But what's behind it is definitely a fundamental thing, because it describes basically everything that is possible to describe. Aside from consciousness at the moment, I would agree that seems to be different. But it's definitely not an illusion. Just giving the example of it as something that math deals with in motion. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. You're talking about like high school math? That like before when you guys were talking about like not dealing with motion? Like anything above high school math, even like basic calculus is already dealing with motion, basically. Giving an example of something that, yeah. Nothing with horses. So I've got my lasers and I just got a nice large white surface to once again look the code. How far is my face from the laser on the surface, and approximately how wide does the red beam need to be? 2 inches? So nothing special about your lasers. I'll respond in one moment. Wait, what? Do you need ego boost or something? What are you talking about, Danny? I'm confused by your comments. What is on the painting behind you? Stripes like zebra? This one? That's a scene from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when Marvin meets the mattress. So the smartest thing in the universe meets the dumbest thing in the universe. One is the smartest and the most depressed, and one is the dumbest and the happiest, which is classic. So let me address first of all your question, Mishanaha. If you project a laser on the surface, this is a good opportunity to do this. If you project it on the surface, in the beginning I always recommend to put your face as close as possible to the wall, only because by the way, there's an actual descriptive video of this, both on TikTok. I think it's pinned to the top on TikTok, the third one on the right. There's a demonstration there. But you want to actually come really close in the beginning, and you just want to kind of like stare inside. You want to cover one eye, and then you want to stare inside like this. Okay? And the reason that I always recommend to do this in the beginning is because it circumvents the issue that your brain doesn't really see any logical reason to look through the wall, because why would it? It's a wall. So so logically, it makes no sense to do that, right? When you come really close, it kind of forces you to look through because you're right at the wall. Eventually, you actually want to step away from the wall, and you want to be looking from afar and looking, but then you have to kind of do this thing that is equivalent to making the magic eye movement with your eyes, and then you will see inside. The same difference between looking at a window and through the window, basically. As far as the width of the thing, as long as it's not too bright, because then it will drown the sound, and as long as your surface is not too glossy, which will also reflect too much and will drown the sound, you should be good. It doesn't matter how wide it is. The whole thing is that. So as long as you can look through it, it's fine. X starting point. Do you need... What is on the painting? Oh, got that. Seriously, without a fixed point, math goes on forever. Okay, so there's, again, I don't even know to what effect you're saying all of this. It sounds like I don't understand the point of what you're saying. Looks awesome. I've just arrived in time for the tour. I haven't missed anything. Awesome, thanks for that demo. Going to try now. Danny, can you confirm your email for me, please? A message about Discord. Oh yeah, the email is lasersimulationx@gmail.com. There you go. Let me know if there's an issue with it, because somebody already told me that there's an issue with the email. According to AI, pretty soon 75% of the world will be blind. If we all took off our glasses, life would be a blur. Technologies that those work. Yeah, I'm totally not behind you on that. People were still blind back in the day, with or without glasses. It's easy to pull the wool over the eyes of a blind society. Or, like I said yesterday, the thing that's pulling the wool over your eyes is a civilization that is trying to take over and convinces you that you shouldn't use the one tool that you ever found in the entire history of your species to try and climb out of the terrible situation you're in, which is actually very difficult. And then they're basically trying to convince you by making it feel really good in your body to talk like that and say, well, don't worry, just be friends. Just look into the divine. Everything is going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Don't look into science. Science is evil. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then when you're not looking, they're going to take over. How's that for a scenario? Sounds makes sense. Just as much sense to me. Point being, you can always make any story fit the narrative you already believe. What you have to do is to look at the world and what it's actually telling you. And the point is that people used to suffer a lot more than they do today. Today, you have some diminishment of some meaning, which is true, and we have to address that. And yes, we definitely have to regulate and make sure that teenagers don't get hurt by social media and things like that. But these are just tiny, tiny issues in comparison to what technology does solve. You will always, always have problems coming at you. Always. You will never have a non-problematic situation. It's the nature of the world. The idea that you some time in the past had some kind of a perfect moment is an illusion, and worse, it's a delusion that actually causes a lot more harm than most people who say these things realize. That's where I stand. I have arrived just in time, or I don't know, seems like I cannot write today. Danny, so Leslie yesterday jumped into what I guess people usually jump to, which is to make it bigger, widen the usage of the laser spectrum, etc. As soon you repeated today that you of course use a refractive method, diffracted, yeah. And the laser is kind of specific usage of light, a very precise selection. So it seems like following what was already used, progression makes sense with going more precise rather than widening the scope. Yeah, something to it. It also focuses your attention, I would say, Danny. So I think it's a valid point. Or do we have what is needed already? How do we know put it back in the room if you don't mind. Maybe like this recycle symbols, some charge will fall away, and others more fundamentally will transform and become more communicative. By going more precise, I mean, so, oh man. So you were being humbled, and you said that there is nothing special with your laser. What you did not understand was referring to the comment of your comments. Okay, I know that you said it to highlight that it does not generate the code reacting to the conversation with adapters, but still, it is special regardless. I think what is special is that this connection that I made. I don't think my TikTok comments are making it through. Oh, so you're not the only. So Amalia is not the only one. Maybe they're. I wonder if they're blocking my channel or something like that. That would be interesting to know. No, Cal is like a regular and he never says anything inappropriate, so there's no reason for it to ever be.
No, I think there's a setting where you can choose to see all comments or not.
Oh, maybe I'm in a setting where I'm not seeing all the comments? Wait, Kirsten, because I know I made you a moderator. Did you change something about like not seeing all the comments or something like that? Thank you, Azamun. I think the code is made of something that interferes with the laser. Only a few knowing things interfere with laser light. That's actually a really good point. I emailed you a few minutes ago, and it seems fine. No bouncing back or anything. Let me check. Yep. Got your email. Perfect. Amazing. There you go. So Amalia, I get my emails. Is kid not kin a demonic spirit? I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff. Mic drop. Can you bring me up? Oh, of course. Oh yeah. See, I don't notice it. There you go, Cal. And yeah, I just don't notice that stuff, guys. So just put it. Thank you for telling me, Kirsten.
Yeah, so I wanted to test something because I've been able to share the experience of the molecule with people on live. Obviously, I don't imbue on the live, but then I come back. And so I'd like to do it and see what people can feel. Is that okay? Are you okay with that?
Sure. So what are we supposed to do?
Just relax.
How do you do? Wait, how do you do that first? Oh. Everybody relax.
Take a deep breath in through the nose. And blow out slowly and do 3 rounds of that. Connect with your body. Feel your body.
So Kirsten, apologies, but you caught me off guard here. We do have other channels that have no idea what's going on. So like, I need to know, how long are we doing this? All right. Well, apologies for that, but I will continue. Question: how would you using this laser on a pure gold surface affect it? I don't know. Maybe I need to get something with pure gold. I have a suggestion. If you're going to participate, look into wait for movement and then hope not. Okay, my free thinking. They're great and diverting our attention. Your pretty eyes, your irises are huge. I think it's maybe because the actual irises. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now your comments are coming through. Okay. Stars. No, didn't change anything or even. Okay. What's up, man? Killing it. Good to see it. Hey, James. Bringing you up. Thank you, Nico.
Hey, Danny. Thanks for having me up.
Absolutely, brother.
I was getting right in tune with that breath. I was anticipating she was going to the place where if you do that, if you get into that place, you relax, and you take 3 huge breaths and like as big as you can.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I just did. So, I'm projecting that experience because I've been able to share it with others, but usually when I can see them, so I'm testing to see if this works. Can anybody feel anything happening in their body?
I'll wait for people to punch in. I just need I need to understand, because again you have 4 different platforms, and then for some people it's just like they don't understand what's happening, so they're like, okay, so we like talking about it before would be very helpful. So you're projecting an experience into people's perception basically.
Yes, I'm sharing the molecular experience with others.
Got it.
And it's connecting to the unified field, right? So, so that allows it to happen if someone's open to it.
So if anybody experienced something, please put it in the comments. Would love to know. And then we can do this again. Well, probably not today again because I have to actually bounce in a moment. I have a meeting, but we can definitely do this again and like prep for it. That would be great. But if anybody experienced just now or still experiencing something, please tell us. This would be super helpful.
Yeah, Becky said she felt relaxed. That's exactly the first part of it. Yeah.
Interesting. Think vague memory of a time
in the relaxation of breath work. To me, I get excited about being the conscious being right now on Earth and learning about these amazing powers that the human potential is about and is for. And it's exciting time to be alive, and I love the breathwork connection to the molecule.
Thank you for sharing that. Did you feel something that you feel was coming from Kirsten?
Maybe part of that was the excitement about sharing the powers that we have to reach things inside ourselves.
Erica says she's also excited. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, so let's...
Thanks for sharing that, guys. And Danny, thank you for allowing me to...
Absolutely. But yeah, so we can definitely do this again in a more organized fashion. I'm totally down. I just want to explain to people what we're doing so they're not they're not confused. We can do this either tomorrow or any other day that you can come on, and we can actually do like a whole test. We can allocate like 5 minutes for it or whatever it takes. And if everybody on board, we'll just do it, and then we can actually test a lot of these things. And then people can say if they feel something. Yeah, totally down. Matt killing it. Danny, I found a bunch of magic chocolate. I didn't even know there was a thing. Did you? Did I know if there was a thing? Yeah, definitely.
Be careful with the chocolates. They could be unpredictable.
Yep. Nico, thank you so much for all the gifts.
Erica, let's talk. Yeah, you can do the same thing. Yeah, let's talk.
And we shared it together. I can do that. Thank you so much for that, Kirsten. I appreciate you. I can do the same thing. Circle. Danny, I went to Wolfram first talk on this physics project towards the end of 2019. Yep. Yeah. What about it? It's great. Yeah, I've been following it very closely. I actually listened to a lot of their like technical talks, which are like 5 hour long, of them just sitting and like coding and trying to talk about it, and then Wolfram getting frustrated. It's really funny. But I literally I nerded out on the whole thing. I used to take really long walks actually during COVID, and I used to take very long walks, and I would just listen to it. I would walk for hours and I would just listen to it. So it was actually reminds me of very beautiful times. Those talks are yeah, they are brutal, but they were fun. I don't know, like the way that Wolfer would just get upset with what's his name, what's his mathematical physicist's name? Now Michael. No, what's his name? Oh man, I'm forgetting. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, I'm gonna. So what? One second, everybody. How should we? So if we're leaving by Clemson, should you just take them? No, baby. Why don't you just give him the mint? Huh? No, but I need to know when to finish. So like maybe in 15 minutes or 10 minutes?
So I think I'm gonna stay because I had to feed her. She was too hungry.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you in a moment. I'll do another 10 minutes maybe. Beautiful.
Danny, can I throw a couple?
Yeah,
thoughts
please,
out there?
please.
All right, so you already saw the one I put on YouTube. So the code is interfering with the laser, obviously, right? So
Well, you can say that the laser, light. Well, you're right. Specifically the laser, because light doesn't work. You're right. So it has to be a laser, and it bounces off of it because of what it is. So either it's because of the frequency or because of the fact that it's diffracted, which tells us something. But yes, but I wouldn't say that it interferes with it. Well, it interacts with it. Yes.
yeah, so I was just like looking at a bunch of things that interfere with laser, and you're right. It's interfering in like a cohesive way, right? It's
interacting with it in some form. Yeah, it bounces off of it. Right.
right, and so only a few things that we know of can actually do that with laser light. So anyway, I just started thinking about what it could possibly be made of, I guess. I was just trying to think about that along those lines.
That's
I just want
interesting.
to throw that idea out there just to, for people to think
Yeah,
about.
because actually this is a really important point, because you can't. Let me just turn on this light. You actually can't. The one of the problems with my hypothesis about it being dark matter, which I still think it's possible, but the one thing we know about dark matter, and it's not much, but one of the things we do know.
Focus our intentions on one thing.
What? Sorry. Kirsten, I'm gonna mute you because I think you don't realize you're still in the conversation. So, one thing we do know about dark matter for sure is that it does not interact with electromagnetism. That's why we don't see it. It does not interact at all with electromagnetism, it seems. And this is why it was so difficult to explain, because they thought, well, maybe it's WIMPs, weakly interacting massive particles. Maybe it's some other form of particle that is, barely interacting. But all of them seem to not be promising. So it seems like my idea that light would be interacting with it might be off in comparison to what physics thinks. But the reason I think that is because maybe you need to be a certain bandwidth of consciousness itself to see when electromagnetism interacts with what we call dark matter. So I think that's why we can't see it from the regular perception. It's not enough of whatever juice power we have.
Absolutely on that. Yeah.
Kirsten, okay. Does that make sense, or you just Cal?
That makes sense. Or it could be something we just have no idea about. Which
Well,
is
that's always the
another
case.
issue. But we could start thinking about ways to rule out the things we do know about, and narrow things down somewhat.
Yeah.
And then the other weird thought I had,
Please.
and this has no basis on really anything, but since it is made of symbols or some kind of language in some form.
It's light language. It's actually light language. If you listen to Terence McKenna's interpretation of it, it's light language.
Right, so if it's some kind of language, it's meant for some kind of being like us or us to interpret in some way. right? Because it's a form that we can interpret. So then I started thinking about what if someone else already figured this out and it's being broadcast terrestrially here, somewhere else on Earth?
Well,
If someone
in what
has
way?
already figured this out and already communicating with this, and we're just finally catching on? Just
So-
another weird thought.
Yeah, well, so again, it depends on how seriously you want to take what is being communicated. But as just from my interaction with them, the answer to that would be unequivocal no. Like actually the first time they didn't expect this to be a thing right now, but they're like, okay, well, so that's kind of like what I'm getting, but maybe I'm just trying to think in what way would they be broadcasting.
Well, in similar to how we have radio broadcasts that go through.
So you mean they're broadcasting through that signal? So like they're utilizing
the
that
signal
channel
is the
to broadcast.
broadcast.
So maybe we can catch up somebody's. It's something that is already being broadcasted to us through that channel. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so it's like any other broadcast. We're just finally seeing it, and since it's a broadcast because it's everywhere as far as we can tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'm just thinking along those lines.
Yeah, I'm. It's just that again, in this space, I've never seen anything that would suggest that there's anything human broadcasting. But I'm not close to that idea. It's possible that somebody else also did and they never spoke about it, and then they also transmitting sometimes through it. It's very possible. I wouldn't know how to begin to even think about transmitting through it at the moment. So yeah, definitely a very fruitful way of thinking about it, or a fruitful direction for sure. Let's see. So what I want to do is actually want to interact with a couple of the things you said, Cal. And I want to bring Nico in before I have to bounce off. And at the same time, I want to try and get through the final chunk of comments on YouTube and here on TikTok. And then so let me do one thing at a time. So first of all...
Okay, well, I'll just quickly sign off. Danny, thank you so much for having me up. I love learning, and I'll be whenever I can, but I got some copper rapping to do.
What's copper rapping to do? What are you... Wait, are you broadcasting through the code without telling us?
I'm trying to figure out a way to connect my crystal from the ground to the stars to communicate with the field consciously right now.
Whoa.
Okay, very,
Yeah.
very interesting you said copper wrapping, because that's what I was doing around this experiment that I'm doing with a magnet in front of a mirror. And you have to put it 2 feet above your head and suspend it, and then wrap the entire leg surface around copper. And I haven't got to the copper point, but yeah, I'll let you know. That's interesting.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing. Okay, James. Well, thank you so much for always an honor and a pleasure to have you with us. So join whenever.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll see you again, Danny.
Absolutely. Nico, I'm gonna bring you in 2 seconds. I just want to go through these 2 comments. Okay, perfect. What is your speculation on the molecule is needed? Helpful for seeing the code. My initial speculation is that it has to do with the default filtering the brain is doing in normal state. We know most data that comes into the brain is pre-filtered before it reaches the mind. Yeah, that is probably a favorable hypothesis by most neuroscientists and cognitive scientists who are studying this. My perception is a little bit more complex than that. I think it actually amps up the frames per second of reality itself, which is what allows you to see this.
I've experienced the same thing, yes.
Yep. Ever since you mentioned... Go ahead.
It actually makes things more hyper real, and it also works on the default mode network. So it very much, activates and is hyper in time.
I would agree with that. And then Danny is saying, ever since you mentioned that the opening of the console caused an out of perception aerial distortion, I keep thinking about the idea of sneaking it into a dive live and effing up TikTok when doing If it would cause the EMP, it would be so cool. Yeah, well, if it causes any electrical interference, that would be so cool. Okay, guys.
I'm trying to convince Danny to meet up with me sometime soon so we can actually work on the console together, and maybe we could go live doing it.
Maybe. I'll be honest with you, Kirsten. In the next probably 3 months, I didn't realize that that's what you meant. Like, I literally every single day, I don't have more than maybe 1 hour that I can kind of free up. Meeting up is very difficult for me. I have some very close friend of mine that are like pretty upset with me. But there's. I know for a fact that for the next 3 months, that's not a possibility for me. But we can definitely like we can Zoom, we can chat. There's no problem. Maybe we can do this
Okay,
live and
yeah,
that way. Yeah.
let's try it over Zoom.
Sure. Okay, so I want to bring Nico in. How are you, brother?
Hey Danny, how's it going?
Pretty good.
So I remember when I was taking quantum mechanics in college and we were learning about quantum computing, I asked my professor, how long would it take a quantum computer to compute the next word I'm gonna say, right? And he said, well, you know, with the fact that there's like butterfly effects and really it's hard to predict, you know, how to model your consciousness and to predict the next word, it would probably take 14.2 billion years for that quantum computer to compute the next word you're going to say. And I had the same look that you did. I was really confused because I thought quantum computers were like...
I was confused by the specificity that he gave it, but sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what he was essentially saying is that, or what I took from it was that we are living in a quantum we're living in a quantum computation, right? Everything is this, you know, even particles. Like a lot of times when I hear this about the simulation theory, I feel like people are thinking that we're in some digital metaverse with no physical space.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like maybe, you know, I guess everything is still real, right? Like there still is a vacuum, there still is vacuum energy, there still are particles. And, you know, like when you place something on like a balance and you watch the numbers jumble around, they jump up and down, that is very much so like a computation almost, right? Like a physics computation. And I wonder that if what you are observing, or what is being observed is essentially a kind of like a data stream, but it's just essentially everything. I guess in theory, every surface, every object, every scale of physics has some data stream coming from it, right? And when we're in these states of consciousness, we're able to tap into it almost. But I kind of wanted to just pick your brain on that idea, because when I think of simulation theory, I think like we're in a hard drive somewhere, like being run on a computer, right? But I know that but I think of it a little bit differently. I think of it more of kind of like Stephen Wolfram's way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is something that I addressed in the beginning of this live chat. I don't know, you maybe joined later, but one of the things I always emphasize is that the claim is not that we live in a hard drive or on a computer. The claim is that the world everything okay, baby? The world at large is computational. Like all of existence is computational. And then in that context, what we call the real world is just one of the renderings. So it's a subset of the larger computational space. And what happened when we discovered the computation is possible is that we essentially discovered this function of a larger space, of a more like higher hyperspace, and then we're utilizing the tail end of it to do certain things that are more complex now. And we think of it in terms of like, oh, we figured out this neat trick inside of our world. Well, what we discovered is actually a connection, a link to a higher space. And that's what we're utilizing. So it's always, I always say it's like the matrix upside down. Is that we're not trapped in a computational system. Computation is what reality is. And then we are a subset of that. So we're much more limited in our function because of that, because we're less connected. Now, ultimately, yes, everything has to be quantum computational, because at bottom we know the world is quantum. So there's no even though there is this seeming disagreement between, and it sounds like if you took physics, you know all of this, but I'm just recapitulating for people. Even though there is this talk about like the disagreement between the field equations, Einstein's equations, and quantum physics, especially when you're talking about a large enough distortion of space-time. Yes, you do have this seeming disagreement with the mathematics with both of them. However, there is no question that the world at bottom is quantum. That's for sure the case. Okay, it's just a question how then quantum effects in the aggregate translate to what we see as the classical space, right? That's really the only question. And we know to a degree how that happens is that when you start playing with the event horizon and black holes and singularities, you start kind of bending how well you can describe these things, and that's actually the problem. But again, at bottom, the world is quantum, which means it is quantum computational at bottom. There's no question about that. If I hear your question correctly, it's specifically about this element that I mentioned in the beginning of this little rant, which is that we definitely don't live in a like a computer. Is that the tapestry of existence is what we will call computational, and what it really is, the actual thing that it is much deeper than we realize or postulate, or even at the moment probably can understand. But in our tiny corner of existence, we see kind of its possibilities, and we're interacting with it to some degree. But just like there's a big difference between talking about, trying to do something with space-time, bending it, creating warp drives, which sounds futuristic, but actually it's a very almost like part of classical physics, right? Versus talking about like creating quantum effects that can give you some, crazy jumps in both computation and in other forms. Just like that, dealing with quantum computation and like on a level that is like highly functional, the jump is that's why I guess quantum jump is a good term here, like quantum leap, right? But it's that the tapestry itself is computational, quantum computational, and we're utilizing some of it. And then what civilizations that realize how to do this, what they can do is they can mold it into worlds, and then these worlds become almost like a separate slice of reality. But they're essentially sculptors more than simulators. Does that drive the point home a little better?
Totally. And thank you for elaborating on that. And one last thing I want to mention, because I know we have to hop off soon, is Stephen Wolfram recently wrote an article called "What is Entropy?" Right? And entropy is kind of this. You mentioned the entropy in the context of Shannon's framework, but you also talked about it in the context of physics and thermodynamics, and it's this concept that we are paying this kind of entropy tax to the universe, right? For every process that's happening in our world, there is some entropy tax that is paid to the universe for that to happen. Mm-hmm. And recently the Physics Project started viewing entropy as the computational power needed for some process to happen, right? So like there is this kind of fee that has to be paid. I guess you can think of it, I think of it in terms of crypto and blockchains, but there's this computational fee for making this transaction go through, or this simulation kind of continue. And it's really amazing when you think of it from that perspective, because we've, since Einstein, we've just taken it as this is just a law of the universe that we don't know, but we just know that it's always true and it's never violated.
Right, and but this is why, by the way, it's not called one of the laws of physics, but more of a regularity that we can't really get rid of. And sorry, did I cut you off?
No. Please continue.
And I would say that it does. So there's this actually, and I would love to actually talk about this for quite a bit. Are you? Can you make the chat tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is something that I think in terms of conversation. What do you do, by the way? Are you a physicist?
I'm a chemical engineer.
Okay, so you definitely needed to know some of the more that would be amazing to open this more. And are you on the East Coast, West Coast, in America at all?
I'm in LA.
Oh, LA, cool. Okay, so we're even on the same time zone. Amazing, man. So first of all, feel free to email me, please. That would be, and I'm because I'm gonna be doing soon meetups in LA area. So and laser simulation x is at gmail.com is my email. Please email me. Tomorrow, if you come, I hope you do. We'll definitely reopen this exact point because there's a few things I want to say specifically about thermodynamics. How its position as not a fundamental thing might actually be a mistake, but also how it relates to the universe potentially being infinite, because then you're not treating the observable universe as an enclosed de facto area that we'll ever know is not the same as saying that is a closed system. And that is something that I don't quite understand how physicists reconcile. And every time I ask, the answer I get is not satisfactory. So anyways, this is something that, I nerd out on the most, and I would love to talk about this more. The only reason I have to hop off pretty hard line right now, just because I'm actually going to a meeting and I can't be late. Otherwise, I would be bending space time here. Where are you from originally, by the way? You said you speak Russian?
I'm from Peru, but I have a Russian sister, and so
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, man. Well, please show up tomorrow. We'll pick this up. This is one of my favorite subjects. Sorry for all the questions that I didn't answer. The business. Good to see you, brother. Cal. Good to see you. Everybody on YouTube and Twitch and everybody. Peace and love, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. See you, YouTube. Apologies that I'm jumping off that abruptly, but I don't have a choice. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.